Folks, I'm with Mohit Saxena. It's amazing. Mohit is one of the founders of Inmobi. I'm sure all of you know Inmobi, amongst the most successful innovations coming out of India, Bangalore headquartered. They do brilliant work in the mobile advertising space. They've got the platform, they've got the ecosystem, they've got the story. How many billions of impressions do you serve right now? I'm sure those numbers have reached multiple billion right now.
It's probably around 9 billion a day.
9 billion a day. And they've got the technology. So it's always a pleasure. So Mohit, we are here at InnoFest in Hyderabad, and you're obviously one of the sponsors and the patrons that is supporting this ecosystem. Talk about the state of innovation in India today.
So actually I think India can't be on a better stage in terms of innovation, because innovation is not about building something new every day. It's about converting the problem into opportunities, and I think all of a sudden now there's a determination and will, and especially the young folks, a desire to solve some of the problems that were left hanging, and because of the demography and the huge population, I think the opportunity we have is just immense. I mean, every small idea that probably starve for users and people in any part of the country can gather a momentum of million and billion people quite easily. So for me, innovation, I think, is a grassroots phenomenon where not only one individual but a lot of people start to believe in something, and they decide to do something which is beyond the outcome of success and failure. It's about efforts, it's about changing the status quo, and it's about doing something about the problem that bothers you. So I think I feel pretty excited, especially seeing sort of a movement happening in every city, every place across India.
Fantastic. So Inmobi is one of those early successes. I still remember 2010, 2011 when you got 1,200 crores of funding. You were amongst overnight sensations, rock stars and so on and so forth. Talk about your journey and how the Indian ecosystem, worked at that point in time, and what has changed now.
So I think when we were raising money, or in our early days, I think the ecosystem was still evolving, especially in India. But there was a conviction in the story from East. Especially we were in mobile monetization and mobile industry, mobile ecosystem. And anybody in his sane mind can comprehend, that 5 years, 10 years from now, more than 50% of the population is going to live in this country. So what happens in a region like Europe and Western world is just a phenomena, but what is going to define the future is what happened in China and India. And I think some of those big bets we took around that time, while every other mobile company was starting from West and then coming to the East, we decided completely a reverse trend, build a company from the East and then go to the West. So I think that's the story that has clicked with a lot of people, and that was the reason. In fact, one of our big funding came from East, not from West. From SoftBank,
Yes, absolutely.
And if you think about it, I think that was one of their starting SoftBank as a group to invest in this region and this country, and basically on the ideas which were dependent on the fuel that or the growth that we can get from this ecosystem. So we were I think we took a risky path, but it worked in our favor during that time. The things were, like I said, the main difference between then and now is now there is a huge ecosystem startup push. Everybody wants to work for a startup. I remember in early days, hiring for us was a very big deal. Convincing people leaving Google, Yahoo, and coming to a startup who nobody knows what will happen. I remember talking to some of the engineers, and in fact speaking to their parents as well, that why should they join us? And the question their parents used to ask, the guy is going to get married soon and nobody knows this company. He might be better off working with Yahoo. I said, no, you should not think. You should not see things that way. I mean, we have a potential of becoming next Yahoo, and imagine if your son can be part of initial engineers. So those were the fun days. I think all those convincing and those conviction, you don't need it. It's a reverse.
That's changed now.
It's
the big boys that need to convince.
It has completely changed, and people wants to be part of startup. They want to work in startup. So I think it's very interesting to see that transition.
Absolutely. So switching gears a little bit, ad tech is one of those areas where there is enormous flux that's happening. Technology keeps changing. Everything is sort of moving, and you're in the global ecosystem. You get impacted by pretty much everything that's happening.
Yes.
Google changes one rule here, everything changes in the market. Facebook brings in something, everything changes in the market. Twitter is doing that thing. So, and there are lots of other companies that seem to be in trouble as well. So how do you keep yourself on top of what's happening?
No, so I think one thing is we are very self-aware, and we don't fall in love with our own idea. So that's very important. Especially in context of innovation and evolution, if you fall in love, you stop changing, and you become obsolete, because the mobile ecosystem, technology, even edtech, it's changing in 3 months. You cannot plan 1 year, and those businesses are gone. So iteration and just revalidating your thought is very important. So last one year almost, all of us were having thoughts. The biggest problem with the traditional edtech is it's built on the premise of two important pillars. One is advertiser, who is looking for better ROI, and then publisher, who is looking for a monetization. But what was getting missed out was the most important entity, which is completely overlooked, is the user. Everybody makes money because of user.
Of course.
The ad network company, the advertiser, and publisher. And if everything is happening because of this one entity, then why ad tech is not evolving to build itself or reinvent itself around that entity? Because if you please user, and if you allow him to discover things that are great and basically based on his interest, you can completely redefine advertising. And I think that's the big bet we have taken. A lot of people, they were surprised that it's a very big business. You keep matching these two people and be happy around it. But we feel the world where it's heading, and if you see what's happening around us, if you are not built around user, you will not last. So you will not build a lasting company. We can have a good revenue for 1 and 2 years, but what will happen next? There's nothing fundamental into it. So that's why we launched a new product called Meep, and a lot of we talked about this product in greater detail. And for this, our plan is to reinvent advertising completely, and it needs to be around user. Show him what he wants. Learn from his experience, build discovery that is fun and engaging for him with a bespoke experience. And we will also not afraid to take the call. If the best experience for a user at a particular time is to not see an ad, we will not show an ad. So it's about thinking everything by putting user into the center. So I think that's the big step we have taken. Time will tell how successful we will be, but I think that is what is very important to keep ad tech relevant in new ways.
Of course. I'm going to ask the obvious cliched question everybody I'm sure asks you. So the smartphone explosion is happening now. We've got about 3 billion smartphones across the world. Out of the 6 billion plus phones that are around. In India particularly, it's 1:5, but it's fast changing as we go along. Emerging markets, the same story is getting repeated. What does the smartphone evolution or the smartphone explosion mean to you guys?
So if you see, so what is a smartphone basically? It's still a mobile device. It's still a mobile phone. But what it has done is, and why it is called smart is, if you see our life, we live our life through this device today. You want to order a food, you want to book a cab, you want to see something, you want to check something on web, you run your office on here, mail and everything. So how you can do all these things is smartly, in an efficient way, with one device is what is basically a phenomena called smartphone. Technology is becoming better and better. So, initially the cost was a huge factor for people to migrate to this device or basically adopt to new system. But with the invention, what we are happening, the cost is going to go further down. The smartphone is already a commodity. If you remember, the smartphone used to be 40,000, 30,000 minimum, but you can already get a pretty decent phone for 10,000 and 11,000.
Absolutely.
And my expectation is probably next 1.5 years, they are going to be even half. The price of those phones is going to have, because the chip, the lens, the memory, everything that you need, battery is going to improve. So that will further bring the cost down. Other thing what will happen is more and more innovation are happening. The things that you can do using your phone, the life that you can live on your phone, and at the same time a lot of monetization model coming around it. And what they do is basically they create they keep your ecosystem free. And last but not least, I think data is also going towards the voice route and SMS route. It has already become commodity. So eventually it will be cheaper and cheaper, and that's the big bet we are taking. That eventually I think in next couple of years, all this Southeast Asia, where traditionally the penetration of phone has not been more than 20% to 30%, I believe this will go to 50 to 60, and that will be a different kind of
world. Will be new game changer.
It's a new game changer.
So Mohit, highly successful in Inmobi. What has success meant to you? How has life changed for you in the last 5-6 years?
So I think every year there's a different challenge. Which is a good thing, because if you are not seeing a different challenge, which means you are not evolving, or company is sort of stuck with some state. So I think the biggest excitement for us is basically no one year is or no one year has been same like the previous one. One way or other way. Whether we are growing, we are trying to do different things. And same thing in 2015, we have built and we have invested a lot of, we have put in a lot of efforts in our platform, because earlier, like I said, the advertising is all about optimizing these two entities, advertiser and publisher, and then Inmobi who makes cut in between. But now redoing everything around user, you have to change everything from the scratch. So I think we have done a lot of work, a lot of engineer, business, product manager, they all have worked very hard. So I'm really looking forward to see some of these things in the real life out there, and see how we can live up to the promise of keeping a user and giving a delightful experience.
Fantastic. Last word really from you. If you were talking to the entrepreneurs of the world today, you're in InnoFest right now, what would your message to them be?
I think the only one message I want to say, because I do meet a lot of people, I think they should stop telling me, or they should stop telling things, hey, we are Amazon of India, or we are Uber of India, we have hundreds of problems that nobody has solved. And rather, I think one pride I take in Inmobi is that we were always Inmobi of the world. We were never Inmobi of, we never introduce ourselves that we are this company of this country, or so and so company of this country. We have been global from within the 2 years of our inception, and to this date, we are Inmobi of India and Inmobi of world. So I think there are ideas, there are problems, and build your own niche, build your own identity, and I think the chances of success are far more if you tell it that way, because as soon as you throw some name, people start to relate you with that guy. It might help you in some cases, but most of the time it doesn't help you.
Fantastic. Inmobi of the world versus Amazon of India. Wonderful endpoint. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Mohit.